Welcome, everybody. We would like to call the meeting to order. Do I have?
The official time is 5:39 since we didn't start exactly on time.
Okay.
We do have a quorum. The agenda, just follow the agenda.
Does everybody have an agenda? So we go through the agenda today.
Yes.
Okay, so we're calling to order. And do we do the public comments?
Public.
Anybody have public
Maybe
comments?
present every single member, no? You don't do that?
Well, we hadn't, yeah, let's do that. Introduce the 5 board members
Okay.
For the minutes,
Okay.
yes.
for the minutes. Okay, I'm Elsa R. Arguindegui. I'm the vice chair.
Steve Gutierrez.
Brianna Science.
Paul Thompson. Pardon.
Nancy Cadena.
Oh, you. Oh, you did. I didn't hear you. Jesse Hernandez.
Okay, so we're all here. We have a quorum, and we're calling the meeting to order. And we'd just like to get an approval on the minutes.
So moved.
One motion.
The second.
And
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, minutes approved.
Okay, the minutes are approved.
Now, we do have someone here under the public comments.
Okay.
You want to
Yes.
introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Marina Morales, and I'm here because I was invited by Colleen. My son passed away from a drug overdose 3 years ago, and I started an organization. It's called Mike's Purpose, and my purpose, or the purpose of the organization, is to bring awareness to the community of Laredo, and about the stigma, and not to be afraid to share what happened to their loved one. I've done an event three years in a row already, and I get a lot of help from community leaders, and we get people to go and speak, people that are addicts, people that are ex-addicts, and I would like to see something here in Laredo. I was reading the notices that they're looking into doing like a detox center. So I'm just here so y'all know. I started to talk. I started talking at Lara Academy. Ms. Hernandez from Lara saw my story in the newspaper, and she called me up, and I went and I did a presentation for the kids, and now I've been to different schools. And the first year I started with 2 pictures, which was my son and another kids that passed away from an overdose also. And right now, as the third event passed on August the 31st, I've had like 18 pictures already of people coming out and trying to help others also. So I just wanted to come and let you all know that if you all need me or whatever I can help, I'm here. Okay.
Can we add you to the directory? Thank
Yes.
you. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Who's in charge of adding?
Andrea will make note of that.
Do you have it? Does you
I
have her?
can give
Yes,
her my
because
information.
Andrea had passed out in the email she had targeted, so you have the information. Okay, if you need more details or give more details.
When you say coming out is coming out of accepting being users of.
Like when I say coming out, is some people they're ashamed that their loved one passed away from an overdose, and
Oh,
they don't
okay.
want to say. So what I'm doing is I'm like telling the families don't. I mean, my son did die from an overdose, and there's nothing that's gonna hide that, So I wanna bring awareness.
Yes.
you know.
And for those who come out and need some type of help, maybe mental help, do you
I
refer
refer
them?
them to SCAN. I
Okay.
refer them to SCAN,
Great.
and a lot of people, like when I went once to like last year to Martin, and I spoke, and I have a Facebook page for my son, and I got a message from a little girl and she said, thanks for your story and
That's very
stuff.
nice.
And she said, because of that, I'm gonna change what I'm doing. So, like, my purpose is if I can help at least one person, one child,
Yes,
one kid
definitely.
come out of drugs, I mean, I think that'll be something, and my son would have been a guiding beam.
Yes.
That's
Thank you
beautiful.
for what you do for our
Yeah,
community.
thank you.
¿Puedes decir algo?
Sí.
¿Tienes un nombre, por favor?
Marina Morales.
Ms. Morales, sí, yo he visto lo que has hecho. Mi esposa es abogada.
Oh, okay.
So, yo sé lo que pero una de las cosas, te di mi tarjeta.
Ajá.
Yo, si me quieres contactar, primero mándeme un text,
Okay.
porque está en silent mi teléfono, pero yo te contesto. La cosa que voy a proponer es, yo superviso 10 consejeros.
Okay.
Y sería una cosa buena, experiencia buena para ellos, que hicieran grupos para lo que tú quieres hacer.
Like support groups.
Y yo puedo hablar con ellos, a ver quién está interesado, porque es bueno nomás para ellos, para que aprendan. Van a estar bajo mi supervisión, pero van a aprender y van a ayudar.
Okay.
Y ahorita todos los que superviso están con Tiller. No voy a dar el Tiller aquí, pero yo puedo prometer que los que yo superviso, aunque están con Tiller, les voy a preguntar la semana que entra si quieren hacer algo así y luego podemos juntarnos,
Okay.
encontrar un lugar para hacer los grupos y si podemos o la ciudad, un lugar para que empiecen estos grupos y hay un profesional
Yes.
ayudando. Eso yo te propongo y yo sé que yo estaba hablando con Ana aquí que yo la he supervisado ya va a acabar, pero sería una cosa buena para las personas que yo superviso. Okay. Por favor, mándame un text y mándame un text hoy porque luego se me va a olvidar.
Okay.
Pero cuando salimos, mándame un text
Claro que sí.
y con mucho gusto. Y yo he trabajado por muchos años con lo que se llama co-occurring psychiatric substance disorders y he trabajado con muchos, no nomás niños de los años, pero también adultos que están adictos a heroin y muchos que se han morido. And so, lo que usted necesita, yo sé que yo y mi esposa y las personas que yo superviso están a su lado.
Okay.
¿Ok?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for
I want to
offering that.
also just thank you for the work that
Yes.
you do.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Because it is amazing. And you are right about speaking out
Yes,
Mhm.
and how hard it is for parents
yeah,
to talk about it. So I admire your courage to do that. I really do appreciate that. And that others who are following you
Yeah.
are doing the same. As you say, there's no shame. This is a disease, it's a brain disorder, and it happens, and it's painful to go through that. But I really thank you for the work that you're doing, creating awareness and speaking about this, because I'm sure that you are impacting in a wonderful, positive way for
Yeah.
others to hear your story. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes.
Mi esposa también tiene su número, ¿verdad?
Yes.
Porque voy a hablar con ella.
Ella es la que,
Hoy en la
ella es
noche.
la que, she's the one that got me started.
I'm
Like
glad.
I didn't want to speak, but ella me dijo que fuera y she asked me if I wanted to speak with the kids or with the adults, and I thought it was gonna be easier with the kids. And she said it's actually easier. It's actually harder to speak to parents, but you can do the kids. And I did. I talked to the kids, and before I used to have my son in an urn, and I already decided to bury him, and we did. So now I used to take the urn with me, and the kids would be like, "Oh wow, like she brought him here." But now I take a 10-pound weight, and I actually I ask if I can pass it around, and I do, and they're like, "What is this?" Right? So they see it, and they're like, "Why did you bring this?" So when I start to tell the story, and then I tell them that I had him in an urn, and that I would take him out, and that I would ride with him and stuff, and they're like, oh, and I tell them I don't think your parents would want you to carry you on a 10-pound, like a 10-pound weight in the office. Like it really gets to them, and I think that's good.
Well, congratulations. I know that my wife really appreciates the presentation from everyone. You know, we've got the skate
Yes.
jam. You know, so from LAD, who I work very closely with LAD cases, and you know, this is a very important thing. I know that LAD goes to LAD Academy. Uses a lot of resources.
Yes, I met
to get the
Miss
best.
Elizabeth. Elizabeth. I met her
Elizabeth,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, because I asked your wife, since I hadn't done anything like that, I asked her if I could go like the whole week so I can see all the presentations and then do mine so I could know what to do.
I believe
to
she's having
expect.
another one of those marathons. Is this Red Ribbon?
Yes.
It's gonna
I
be
know she signed me up to do
17th.
something. So I don't know when, but I know it's on a Monday morning when I'm not working. That I'm
So
gonna
then
be
it's
over there
next
for that
week.
one. So-
Well, of course, she would make sure that you're off so you can go.
No, she knows that I don't work on
Well,
Mondays.
that's why.
So, you know, because no other day I can do it, but she said, can you do it? I said, yeah, I mean, I've done it for years, but I enjoy doing it. My passion, you know, for 15 years of my career, I worked with adolescents, and, you know, I really enjoy working with adolescents. You know, I still work with them now, it's mostly adults, mostly with the prom. But, yeah, congratulations
Thank
on
you,
what
sir.
you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to my story.
And do you have the Facebook page? Does it say like for people to understand that it's a support group
Yes.
for parents
Yes,
that
ma'am,
have
I
lost?
made it like a cost. It's like for a cost.
Perfect.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's information there, and there whatever's coming up, I posted like the mental health awareness
Right.
things and stuff. I posted there,
Right.
and I try to get people to go in.
That's wonderful that you're doing it, because there are a lot of parents that are ashamed, because I was trying to get some people involved that I know that their children died, and mine's on the verge. She's there, and you know, so they don't want to, and I don't want to push them. So it's nice to be able to direct them at least to your page, to where they can relate and maybe find some comfort and add to the help,
Yes.
you know. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Or you want to go ahead?
Danielle's now, so. take
No,
over.
let her, she started, let her finish. I'll take the day off.
Okay, we're on item number 4.
Okay, so that one is the one that I brought up. I thought I've been talking to Dr. Gonzalez about this for years. I've worked with all committees. I'm not a paid person for all committees, but all the grants that I write, whether it's for the county or the city, include injectable naltrexone, which is called Vivitrol. And our program is run a model called broad spectrum treatment, using Vivitrol, which includes cognitive behavioral therapy, AA, and OBT. Now, the naltrexone was developed by National Institute of Drug Abuse after the Vietnam War, when a lot of veterans were coming back addicted to heroin. And when they were doing the initial studies, they found out that it was an opioid receptor blocker, so it blocks your opioid receptor. And so if you use naltrexone, back then naltrexone, if you used heroin, you couldn't use heroin. You not only blocked the cravings, but you couldn't use it. If you did use it, you go into immediate withdrawal. Okay? So you don't have the cravings to use it. And they also found out during the study that the veterans were reporting that they didn't want to drink anymore either. Okay? So it blocks the dopamine receptors too. So they don't have any euphoria from the drinking. Well, down the years, you know, it was eventually approved. Naltrexone is very commonly prescribed by doctors for people that are alcoholics or opiate addicts. The problem was that you would take 2 pills a day, and during that day you're pretty good. But you could plan your relapse. So if you don't have a good support system giving the medication to you, then they're going to plan the relapse. You know, unfortunately, that's the disease of addiction. But in 2007, the injectable form of naltrexone, Vivitrol, was first approved by the FDA, first for alcohol use disorders, and then immediately after that for opiate use disorders, eventually was put on the formulary of the VA. So all the grants I've written for the drug court, the veterans court, the Cedar Laredo, they all have Vivitrol in them. It's a medication-assisted treatment that's best practices. I believe that it's a lot more efficacious than methadone or Suboxone or any other medication out there. The idea is that once you take Vivitrol, it's injected and it's in your system for 30 days. So an opiate addict can't use heroin for 30 days. We were talking about naloxone the last time. So they can't use heroin for 30 days, and it allows them to get into some type of treatment. And they can go typically 12 to 16 months, depending on the model they follow, and the Vivitrol will help them stay off the heroin. Plus, if you're an alcoholic, if you have an alcohol use disorder, moderate to severe, especially severe, or any type of alcohol use disorder, it's going to cut the cravings, and people don't want to even drink because they're not getting the dopamine is not hitting the system. So they don't drink, which means that treatment is more efficacious for them. So it's been proven to work for both. Here in the county alone, the first 3 years that we used it, when I did my final evaluation, the city, well, it's a county program, but it saved the city, but the county about $560,000 or a little more. I don't have the exact number, because these were 25% of our population were heroin addicts coming into the program. They were using at a minimum $100 a day. So just the theft was going on, the jail time, the beds in there, it saved the community quite a bit. So we've been very successful using that model. About 3 years ago, when the opiate crisis hit, the federal government sent a bunch of money to different states. The state of Texas was one of them, that they gave money for medication-assisted treatment. The only ones that qualified at that time, however, were programs that were licensed or funded by Texas Department of State Health Services, like SCAN. So now, I got a call recently from the people I work with, the contacts that have in Vivitrol, and we're talking about a problem that we have here locally, where we have all the heroin addicts. They come into the drug court, and where do they break? They break in jail. Okay, and what do you do with them? Because, my counselors, the counselors I supervise, they know that they're gonna recommend residential treatment, so the judge is saying, okay, we're gonna leave them in jail. Okay, so now they're in jail for a long time, and what the people from Vivitrol are coming down to is we're having a meeting with Judge Hale. First of all, we've been to the meeting with Judge Hale and Dr. Gonzalez. I invited Dr. Gonzalez. The reason for the meeting is that there's new funding that we may be able to use for the clients that are in jail. So when they finish their withdrawal, they can get the injection. After that, they can go out in the community, get some intensive outpatient while they're waiting for the bed. In other words, they're not just sitting in jail alone. And so there's apparently some monies that they want to talk to us about whether we want to write a proposal to get those monies, those grants, and that's what the meeting's about. So I told them, you know what? I would like to use, and then the man that I was discussing with was Mike Peluso. He's from New York, and he's in charge of setting up new programs. And I told him what we were doing here. And I said, my idea has always been, because I said, we were talking about naloxone last meeting, and how dangerous it is for people to go out and after they finish something, they get detoxed or whatever, they're gonna go out and overdose. And we have to give them naloxone. I said, why don't we, and this is what I want to propose, and this is what they're gonna come and explain about how Vivitrol works. I said, why don't, as we are setting up this detox, put Vivitrol as part of our medical protocol. So for example, they're gonna come in for the heroin addicts, alcoholics, where they're gonna come in and get detox. We're gonna see a lot of heroin addicts. In any particular program that I've worked, at least 25% population walks in are heroin addicts, and it's probably much higher in Kika's program. We were talking about it, the homeless program.
Can they take it if they have hepatitis?
Well, if their liver is compromised,
Hepatitis C?
yes, if their liver is compromised, there's some doctors, and I've asked this question at national workshops, because the doctor gives Vivitrol here, Dr. Garza Mumura, if the liver is compromised, he won't prescribe it. However, I was talking to a doctor and said, well, we really have to look at all the liver enzymes levels, how damaged it is, because, and what's more beneficial, because if they're out there using heroin, their liver's gonna get more damage. You know, so they have to look at it. So everything is, from what I understand, that is case-to-case basis, but the protocol we use in the drug court is that there can't be any liver damage, which is very tough because, you know, when I was doing the adolescent detox, 100% of our clients, 12 to 18, had hepatitis C, B, and strains that we didn't even know existed.
That's right.
And because they were all sharing needles.
Right.
So, but we have a lot of clients that use Vivitrol, so there's some that because of programs, not only like the City of Laredo, that they go out and they teach people how to clean syringes, especially City of Laredo does that, how to take care of them. I know that Scanton has a program like that. I know Pillar has a program like that. We're dropping the numbers of hepatitis C, hopefully, but there's a lot of people that have them. Anyway, the idea is for these people to come in that qualify, however it is, whatever the doctor decides, because it's going to be up to whoever the doctor is. I don't know who the doctor is. Dr. Garcia, well, that's pretty strict. I'm not going to give it to people with liver enzymes. But, you know, that's a question you can ask next week is can eventually, if we decide to do this, can a doctor provide the education to our doctors community about this? But the idea is that they come into detox, and then we keep those heroin addicts that may qualify for Vivitrol for crisis stabilization, which is up to 14 days. If their liver is fine for the shot, or depending on what the doctor says, you give them the injection, which means that they're going to leave the program without the risk of overdosing, which means eliminates the need of using naloxone, right? But they have 30-day window, and during that 30-day window, we're hoping to have other services like today as part of our detox treatment group. We're talking about what the full vision is, and the vision start phase 1 is really our detox, but phase 2 needs to be residential.
Yes.
Along with residential, with step down intensive residential, intensive outpatient with step down to outpatient, just like Laurel Ridge has. And I mentioned, I want to make sure, even though you all said, well, it's going to be 22-bed facility, no, we build it for double that size. We start small. But the idea is to put Vivitrol as part of our medical protocol. Now, we can't do that right now because it has to be done by a doctor. So once we get to the point where we actually have a physician on board, we'll let the doctor know. He'll do the medical protocol, whatever he likes to use. Like Dr. Wright, he was okay. He would medicate the clients enough to where they would be okay, but he wanted them to feel a little bit of pain because he didn't want them to come back again.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, but it was a medical detox. And we want the doctor to know, look, this is available and there's monies available for it, for our client.
Is there grants for Vivitrol treatment?
Well, that's what they're coming to talk to, Dr.
Okay, good.
That's what they're coming to talk to Judge Hale and Dr. Gonzalez and Biden, because there's monies available now. And there was monies available 3 years ago that the federal government sent down to states. But you had to be a state-funded licensed facility. For
So
that.
yes, it's very important for the future of the detox, for the after treatment.
Yeah, and so for example, you know, we have, look, right now, Staccato's here, Scan's here, I say Staccato, because but Scan's here, and I have very fond memories of Scan, working over there, and a lot of people there are my friends. Their infrastructure is strong. I don't know what's gonna happen when the whole RFP process happens, who will be selected. But see, you already have a state-funded, state-licensed facility. There's monies available that right now, the government's talking about opiate addiction. And I'm sure there's monies available that are coming out for medication-assisted treatment. And you're gonna either see it at the state level or at the SAMHSA level. And, you know, we already have an agency that is in that position. And so whoever is there, I can see this beautiful facility with a bunch of a very highly trained staff doing best practices, right? And that's what I want to see. And so I think, you know, if you're looking at medication-assisted treatment, best practices in my book is Vivitrol. You know, because it doesn't damage the liver, It doesn't, doesn't cause any more problems.
So if it doesn't damage the liver, why don't they just give it to the people who already
it
have
might,
it?
it might.
It might, there's a possibility. So, for example, Dr. Garza Góngora, it really doesn't cause much damage. Think about it. People with hepatitis C, they give them methadone.
Yeah,
That's an opiate.
yeah,
That's gonna damage your
Right.
liver. Suboxone would probably damage your liver because it's an agonist-antagonist.
right.
But-
So why do they give them that then?
Vivitrol is a complete antagonist because all it does is blocks the neuropathway, the opiate pathway and the dopamine pathway. They're blocked.
Right,
But, I understand Dr. Garza Lunda's point. He has a contract with the county. He's a private physician. What if somebody gets really sick? He's gonna be sued, right? And even though I talked to Dr. Nash, he said, yeah, it's probably okay, but it's on a case-to-case basis.
yeah.
So I don't know how we settle that, but I think that this would be a good plan. And so what I'm proposing, this is all about, is on the 16th of October, Dr. Gonzalez and I talked about it, let's have a special meeting. The people from Vivitrol will be here from 5 to 6, make their presentation, take any answers. They also asked me to take a head count because they want to provide something for us to snack on, right? So, that's my proposal. Somebody put it in motion. And
Yeah,
see.
that's a great, definitely.
Okay, so then I guess the question is all in favor of having a meeting on the 16th to discuss Vivitrol with the Alkermes providers?
I'm in favor, motion. aye.
When is this gonna
October the
happen?
16th?
October 16th.
It's a Wednesday.
October 16th?
2 weeks from now.
At what time?
So
5 to
then
6.
one
5
of
to
us-
6, like here, yeah.
One of us needs to make a motion.
I'll motion.
Okay.
Okay, second? I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And if someone can just, get together with whoever,
Andrea can email.
and get a head count
Yes.
of whoever wants to come, and just, so that I told them I'd give you the head count, I'd give them the head count by the end of the week. So whoever wants to come to that meeting, please let us know.
16th, October.
Is this, are you inviting
I'm sorry?
the public and Ms.
Yes,
Morales?
please.
Yes,
Always.
as far as I'm concerned, Ms. Morales is part of the group now.
Yeah, I hope you come all the time.
No, as far as I'm concerned, Ms. Morales is part of the group who's ever here,
I'm sorry, where's this gonna be held again?
here,
Here.
In this room?
and there's
Okay,
Okay,
5 p.m.
at what time?
5 to 6.
5 to 6.
Our normal meeting.
Normal meeting's 5:30.
5:30, yes. Should we say 5:30, 6:30?
Yes.
I'll let them know it's 5:30, 6:30.
Yeah.
It's okay, it just takes them a 30-minute drive extra to Austin. Not a problem.
Great. The next item.
Thank you. Next item. Next item is
Update.
the update on Mall del Norte event. Who wants to do the update on the Mall
I
del
have,
Norte? Okay.
I have notes that were left here by Ms. Rodriguez, Colleen.
Okay.
I'm gonna read it verbatim and then I'll throw in whatever. The event took place at the Center Court of Malls del Norte from 12 noon to 4 p.m. There was music being played in the background and announcements were made throughout the afternoon. We want to thank the commission members that were present. There were 100 Loteria cards that were printed and 74 were turned in and participated in the giveaway and the survey. Personally, I think that's a pretty good turnout. You know,
But it was 3 or 4 people with each person who picked up a card.
Right.
So we had way more
So
than,
yes, it was,
than 74 people.
One person per family, one card per family.
One card.
Yeah.
now, over 200 people stopped by and received information from random booths. Event media coverage for the day was KGNS, Telemundo, Laredo Morning Times, and Facebook. Prior to event media, we had coverage from KGNS, Telemundo, Guerra Communications, Z93 and Big Buck Country, and Facebook. A combined 22 agencies participated. Casa Misericordia arrived close to the end. Judge Villarreal's DWI court did not arrive. An array of prizes, including gift cards, baskets, fitness packages, promotional tote bags were given out. The Loteria prize is sponsored by council members, inclusive of Councilman Torres, Convention Visitors Bureau, City of Laredo Health Department, La Posada, Bodify, Casa Yoga, Mike's Purpose, Laredo Crime Stoppers, LAD, Judge Tano Tijerina, Webb County Indigent Health Services, and La India Spices. That's the one I wanted to wear. Okay. Oh, I didn't wear a collar today because I wanted to pick up my collar because LAD got the best decorated,
LAD.
followed closely by Border Region.
Which was that?
And actually,
What's the-
this was one of my
It was against one.
helpers in decorating the table, so
Yeah.
she needs to
very
take some of the
good.
credit.
Both of them, both of the girls went.
Yes.
And first place receives a custom bag and La Posada stay.
Oh, did you get that first place?
I guess. This is first place
Oh.
went to LAD and then followed by Border Region.
That's wonderful.
Second place receives the basket and Bodify trial membership.
Steve, what
Which
is
is-
that?
That
What
basket.
is that stand?
LAD is Laredoans against drunk driving.
That's nice. That's a nice basket.
That's true.
Okay, and then to finish up, Facebook has updates on pictures of winners. 4 winners are still picking up at the Crime Stoppers office. That's the door prizes we had there. Through Crime Stoppers, a video blog of the event has been posted. See attachment for data and service. Some of the data is like, well, it's just the numbers of a little survey that saying, how many people said yes or no to the following questions. Do you live in Laredo Webb County? Of course, the majority were yes. There was like a couple, like 3, 4 that were not from Laredo or Webb County. Are you aware of the services provided for drug and alcohol use in our community? It was kind of balanced out between the yes and the no's. There were several that said yes, and there was a lot in the total of 10 people said no, 61 said yes, and from the various age, it's broken down into the various age groups. Andrea, do you have this in digital form where it could be emailed to everybody? Okay, that way y'all can see the numbers versus having me here to talk about all the numbers. But it's broken down into age groups, who answered yes, who answered no. The last question, the third question is, do you feel a drug detox facility would benefit the community? Now, Colleen says that this would be skewed in the sense that the people had answered this after they had walked around. So of course now they did have a sense of
Yeah.
knowing. So of course the answer would be yes, because you already found out of all the resources. So there was 65 total that answered yes, and there was about 10 that answered no, I guess, because they thought prior to this they didn't know about the resources.
And some
that
people
were
did
available.
fill it out before they even started going to all the booths. They sat there and wrote it out.
So all in all, having been there, it was a great event. It was positive. I heard a lot of positive things. However, there should have been more council people out there. I think some more of the council members could have been out there. If not, at
Who
least just to
went?
initiate.
Not one, not one.
Were they invited?
Of course, they were even asked for door prizes to participate.
Did we actually get the door prizes?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Well, no.
Yes,
I'm
no.
saying yes, I'm giving them credit, but no.
No.
I contacted the council member that appointed me, and then at the end, he didn't get back in time.
Well, Councilman Torres gave a lot. Got a lot.
Apparently, I'm not as intimidating as Mesquita.
Yeah, I know, I remember Cindy saying that.
Should have had me call.
Make sure.
But
You should be the bustle for our group.
But LAD did have some promotional products, and we had some real nice bags that we donated for door prizes, and there were several prizes that we got. And of course, La India, the spice one, the little spice rack, all that. Oh, that one.
And we got a lot of gift cards from the city, from
And
the city
gift cards,
council.
yes.
They gave us, I don't know, 20, 30?
Oh,
We even have
good.
some left over for the next time we have something.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
But I think
Dr.
their
Covey.
presence would have made a little bit of a difference, especially in impact with the media. You know, that, I mean, we're doing this here on behalf of them.
Yes.
We are volunteers for them, representing them, which is one thing in one of the correspondences that I had with Rudy Gonzalez. I told him, you know, I'm the one that you appointed to represent you in this organization. So this is what we need to get done. And
Maybe next time we give them like
A
a shorter
formal.
time frame versus between 12
Be there
and
for the
4 p.m.
opening ceremony at
Yeah,
least.
Right, that's right. Be there for picture time
From
and,
2 to 2:30.
yes, yes.
And that's when
Well,
we can have the press and
Yes.
media show up, you know.
I agree with that.
Fixed time.
I agree with that, but I mean, it should also be with them. If nothing else, just simply being politicians. You could go and say, okay, let me go show my face and say, okay, I have to go because I have another event. That's a politician's excuse. I have to be somewhere else, but you already showed your face. And,
Well, they were missing this weekend.
well, this was on the, when was it on the?
It was the
15th?
water thing.
No, but this
Yeah,
was
not
way
right.
before
But
the
this
water.
was way
thing.
before.
I know
well,
that. No, I'm
Yeah, but they
saying
were
that-
missing this weekend because of
Oh,
the
yes,
water.
right.
Yeah, they were missing this weekend when, you know, they ought to have been present.
Yeah.
That's the only, that's just a comment. I already told Pete, I gave Pete my
2 cents worth.
But I mean, it wasn't negative, I just said, you know what?
But I finally read where it was actually turned in by somebody who dug it up in their yard.
I heard that, yeah.
So it was in the newspaper today. So
What do you
that
mean
means
they dug it up in their yard?
he had trouble not getting enough water flow in at his house. So being very, I don't know, people who like to mess around
Yeah.
with stuff. He went ahead and dug it up and cut it open and found the filter and changed the filter, and within 2 weeks it was stopped up again. And it was because there was no chlorine in it that it was getting so stopped up where he lived. And so then he himself called
Wow.
the Texas Quality whatever.
Oh, he turned them in other words.
Well, you know, it's a tough
Whistleblower
job,
for sure.
you know, I never felt that we had any problems with water. I've been drinking water from Mangueras for years.
Oh,
Me too.
Not me.
But no, I mean, it's the truth. I mean,
Yeah, when we grew
drinking
up.
like that, and it's a lot better now than it was back then.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it.
Now we're still more or less normal.
No, no.
Yeah, and from what I understand, everything's at a higher quality, the chlorine rates. But I'm just saying, wow, you know, it's the panic that happened.
Yes.
Can you imagine if we really got hit by a catastrophe?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I understand they're ironing that out today.
Well, the Pico Road situation.
Well, that's the report on the thing, and all in all, actually, everything was very positive. It was a good turnout. And thank you so much for the people that participated, the stakeholders that went out there. And it was a Saturday, so you gave up your time on a weekend. Those of you that were out there, thank you so much.
Well, you know, I want to mention something, Steve. It's really important that I don't think a lot of people realize, and as Morales is getting into this, I've enjoyed working with LAD in different areas. Now I've known Elizabeth for a long time, and she contacted me to do counseling for different survivors, and some of it was paid, some of it was pro bono. But the thing that I like about LAD is that they don't leave someone just there hanging if something happens. They're there with them from the beginning to the end. And if they need something, they will go ahead and find a way to make sure that they get the services they need. And, I really appreciate that. And I think that whatever organization continues, where it comes out, they have to make sure to follow that model. Because I think it's a wonderful model.
As a matter of fact, this Friday was, they had a court date for the Salazar, the young boys that were killed on the mines road. And unfortunately, I couldn't be there,
Right.
but I did send her a lengthy message, a prayer type of message for her, to reach out and give them some sort of comfort and just to know that we're thinking about them. And that is a part of our program.
Yeah.
It's something we try to focus on. We don't force anybody to be a part of LAD. We don't bring anybody out because everybody mourns in a different way. And I'm so glad I couldn't have said it any better than you did. in recognition of Ms. Morales, because it does take a special kind of person to go through that and then be able to
share it.
come forward and
Right.
share it with the rest of us. And for that, I thank you. Item number 6.
Item number 6, discussion and possible action. A, transitional support after detoxification. That's that, who was doing that meeting? Because I was doing transition living after rehab. And we're gonna meet Mara when she gets back from her
Honeymoon.
honeymoon and all that. But
I
who's,
guess that's part of the support.
that's still,
Yes.
that's part of that, okay. Because this is transitional support after detoxification, so that's different. The other one's transitional support after a rehab for over a year. This is just
This was
detox.
sent out by Dr. Gonzalez, wasn't
Yes,
it?
and he explained to me and told me to kind of brief you on this. We understand that the detox center is now on planning. Yeah, it's advancing. There's a call for an architect to do the actual first plans of the detox center. So that's more a reality now. So what we have to be prepared is for after the detox. And
To
that-
send them to rehab.
Yes, you send
Right.
them to rehab, you do things like the Vivitrol, and I don't want to be very repetitive, but
Yeah.
that's part of the support
Right.
overall of this. One of the parts, the important parts, is the living facilities. We have to include housing, we have to include the residential facility for SCAN,
And counseling.
and is there when we have to come as a community for actually help them not to go back to using
Right.
drugs. And so he told me to tell you that, and I didn't know that you have a separate meeting for
We have a separate group,
Committee.
committee for transition living after rehab. This is after detox, to go to rehab, and then transition living is after rehab, when they
I
come
think what
out.
Dr. Gonzalez was talking about was residential.
Residential.
And after detox, and we were discussing that because there's enough room
There,
in the yard
yeah,
Yeah.
to do residential.
Perfect.
I know SCAN has, their residential, but
yeah.
if we start doing the numbers
Yes.
there at that location that we're looking at, we don't want to have the problem of not being able to get these people into
Right.
residential immediately.
Immediately after
Right.
detox, yeah,
Right. So
right.
we're gonna take a look at that and see what are the requirements and so forth. And, but phase one, of course, is the detox.
Detox.
Get that going. But we have to be right. ready
Yes, planning
for-
ahead, yes.
So we don't lose them from one phase to the other.
Correct, yes.
Absolutely. Now, can you explain or clarify, what do you mean by residential?
Residential, once you get detoxified, you have to go to residential treatment. It's a 30-day to 90-day, depending on.
Lockdown,
Recommendations.
it's a,
No,
it's
no,
not
not
lockdown?
lockdown.
Oh, so it doesn't mean that you get to go home and you're still.
No. You're in a safe, clean environment.
Okay.
You're providing the
30 to 90
residents.
days.
You're
But
providing.
but it's not locked down?
It's not locked down. There's not.
It can be locked down.
It cannot
By
be
state
locked.
statutes, it can't be locked down.
That.
So it's voluntary-
Yeah, so they're
voluntary
there,
basis.
and they're essentially they're under their own willingness, right?
Will you have lockdown availability?
Cannot be locked down.
No.
So you,
That went out the window many
That
years
one,
ago.
yeah. There's no lockdown.
There is, it's called jail.
Yeah, it's called jail. But the idea, though, is that when people are invested, for example, let's say you have someone in detox and then they go through crisis stabilization. Your counselors are going to do motivational interviewing to prepare them to go to the next step. And then they may say, okay, they break through the bills and they get into residential. And you have a good program set up. And the first step would be intensive residential, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, about 20 hours a week. Intensive residential is about 20 hours a week? 30 hours. So it's not 30 hours a week. They're getting a lot of counseling, and then you have step down residential, what it used to be 12, what is it now? 12. So they go from 30 to 12, and they can stay and our clients that we send out of town, they are there from 6 months to 9 months. The ones from the drug court.
Right. See, my daughter went to that, and I don't know if she's just a very difficult case, but she says that those are just profit centers. She didn't get the counseling that she was supposed to, and it's just 52 women in big rooms, and they're not getting the help they need because she's back. And if she was really getting the counseling and it really worked,
Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I understand your situation.
very hard.
And it's very difficult. But you have different perspectives because we have many clients that go to residential, come back, and then they continue their 16 months of intensive outpatient in the drug court. And that they flourish there. It's a matter of willingness and also psychological problems that so we look for places that treat co-occurring psychiatric substance disorders because you know, the reality in many cases is that, the majority of cases, is that the substance use problem is driven by the psychological problems. I've worked many years with heroin addicts, adolescents, and adults, and I've never met one that didn't have a story of a lot of emotional pain in their life.
That's right. And so they're compounding it by not getting the right help because she was getting peer counseling. So they were getting.
Oh, so it's just a peer-to-peer program?
Apparently, it was a lockdown facility, but it wasn't.
Well, I know that peer-to-peer is one of the services that might be provided, but from my understanding, I'll be happy to get an idea of what services your daughter got because
It was in Henderson.
Okay, because she's in the drug court program, right?
She was. And
Okay, so this is through probation.
Probably.
Okay, because I can tell you what services she got through the drug court program. You know.
She went through the drug
Right, I
program.
understand.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But if this was through, this was like a safety program?
So she didn't go to the highest one. The highest one would have been safety, which is what we wanted, but I don't know if it's the same thing, you know.
But the services aren't going to be as intense as what we're talking about is a classic residential treatment program. What we're proposing and, you know, what you all have right now, you know, that's a program that, you know, that's a bit different.
Yeah, she's a very difficult case because she's been through all the programs.
So residential is like a dorm?
But not locked down.
Yeah, no,
It's a clean, safe environment for
Just
people
where
to
they
be
can
in.
stay.
And they stay to live for
Yeah,
that
and they
month.
get counsel and they learn about
Is
addiction.
that you're asking, it's the detox, right, which is the first step. But the thing that happens is that once they're discharged, I mean, there's no real treatment going on. It's really the medical detox that's kind of primary there to get them stabilized. But then the recommendation, as Jesse was mentioning, is that they undergo some residential treatment, which is what Gerardo was saying. It's like the safe place where they will receive counseling treatment, right, on an intensive and then supportive level. Because the important thing is that they're in a place where access to drugs is limited, though it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't have access to drugs, but it's very limited, and that's where the skill building takes in. In other words, it's counseling treatment that addresses more of what are their situations or specific circumstances, and there's group therapy going on, individual therapy going, 12 steps can be part of that. So there is like a more comprehensive treatment going on. That's when they can continue with medical follow-ups, co-occurring disorders, like if there's some medications that need to be done. So it's really important. And of course, it has to be voluntary, right? The individuals have to want to
Be there.
you know, accept. There has to be a consent to participate in treatment. But it is certainly what's the recommended, right? So that they really embrace the recovery, have an opportunity to learn more about their individual circumstances, what's going on, what are the psychological things that are going on within them that are keeping them in that, and that they can embrace the recovery and have skills and support to do that. Right?
Well, that's good. I think it's very important that the willingness of a person is
Yes.
gonna dictate the success rate of the program. You know, if a person not willing or a person, you know, is having difficult times, of course, the program's not gonna work for that person.
And sometimes they may not come voluntarily, sometimes it's court ordered, but, you know, like the court programs work really well because there's interventions like motivational interviewing and all of that that really helps, and then individuals can at some point develop that internal motivation to continue in their recovery. It doesn't mean that they have to necessarily. I mean, individuals do change and do have opportunities to make decisions that be maybe more consistent in their health, right? And kind of, you know, getting better at that. And so there's a lot of differences, right? It's not, we cannot assume that just because they're not going willingly, they will not actually at some point really embrace that.
And I want to add to that because you never know when treatment's going to take. I learned that a long time ago. And so one of my good friends, and I'm sure his good friend of the SCAN community, is Dr. Carmona. And when I first met Dago, he was a methadone client back in 1988. And he decided to get off methadone, he decided to get off methadone, and he was in residential detox. He went through the detox with Deer Unit, methadone. Then he decided to get off methadone and got into Deer Unit again. And at some point in time, his life changed. Now, if you ever talk to him, he tells you the story. He goes, I went to over 40 residential treatment programs. He was in federal prison, in state prison, in multiple residential treatments. And where did he end up? As a master level counselor at UISD. And that's where he worked for all these years since 1999, until he retired after 20 years, 1998. You never know. And you know, when I first met him, he was a client at Laredo State Center. Then when I left Laredo State Center, he was already administrator for case management. Then I remember when he finally got his LCDC and no one believed that he could get it. And they didn't want to give him a chance to even test. But he got a lot of support from the community. He tested, he passed. And I remember when I hired him at SCAN. And he was a SCAN, and I worked with him on many different occasions. And so you never know what it's going to take. And you know, when I used to teach at TAMU, he would make presentations to my classes. And his presentation was very powerful. And a lot of it was driven by adverse childhood experiences plus PTSD from him as a Marine. Right? And so, you know, people change. Never give up hope. You know, I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but never give up hope.
Mr. Montemayor, you mentioned there's a lot of resources in the yard. Space. And you were referring to what?
In other words, we're building for the residential.
Okay.
To grow.
To grow.
To
Yes.
grow. And of course, that would have its own entrance.
Is there an age limit? Like, is there gonna be like?
We're gonna have adolescents also.
There's gonna, yes, and men and women
In
and
different
children,
sections.
students.
But it does, like the ages, does it like, is it gonna be for, like, my son was 22 when he passed,
He
but,
would have been an adult.
yes, but is there gonna be for minors?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In another entrance.
So, okay.
The entrance is for men and women and
We were
children.
talking about this today. Really think of the Laurel Ridge model. Laurel Ridge treats both adolescents and adults. You know, they're both separate. The clients never intermingle. You can't have that. You have to have separate boards.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, we're in a position right now where we can choose
Yes.
how we want it to be built,
Yes.
what we want to do with it, how we want it to run. We can decide that instead of it being thrust upon us
Yes.
with standards from the state saying this is what you need to do, or standards from SAMHSA, or whatever. We can decide because, you know, right now it seems like a lot of people are buying in.
Yeah.
And so later on, we can look and say, and look for outside money and say, look, this is what we have. Will you fund this? We've been so successful alone for these years. But for right now, we can design it however it is. And you know, that whole movie, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Yes, I think as far as I know, the detox center is an initiative from this commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it might be a good idea to now propose this type of support and funding for after detox.
We actually spoke about it today in our meeting, and so we're talking about within 2 months coming up for a vision for the committee where we say, okay, this is phase 1,
No, please.
and phase 2 includes the residential, the intensive residential, the intensive outpatient, the outpatient. And we were just talking about this today, and we were saying, well, could it be done by November? And I said, well, let's see if we can wait for 2 months to give this vision statement out. And so I think that's what our committee is working on right now.
Okay.
So that by December, the first meeting in December, we already have, okay, this year we did phase 1. Let's
No.
start working on phase 2 so that the things don't keep unfolding.
And look for grants,
Yes.
because
Yes.
the
There's a lot of
county and the
grants.
city are gonna start backpedaling when we ask, well,
Well,
we need
the
another 2
idea-
million.
There's money now. so
Well, each
they can
commissioner
utilize
should-
the money that they've already proposed.
Yeah.
Because they already have a number.
We need to follow up on what we talked about last time, that model that Austin has about creating a nonprofit through this particular program,
Yes.
through this particular
Back.
group, creating a nonprofit so we can go after the DOT monies
Yeah.
that are
Right.
available
Right.
for the prevention, intervention, and treatment of people with alcohol use disorders and drug use disorders, right?
Right. That's
And
very
that's
good.
how we will get that funding. That's what Austin did.
Who can do that for us? Who
Well,
can
the
create
first
that?
thing, I think we discussed, the first thing we have to do is create the nonprofit. So I
Yes.
guess we have to have a legal.
Yes, they're working on it.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
you're
yes.
creating the
They're
nonprofit
working
already.
on the
Oh,
signatures
perfect.
from both sides.
Yeah,
Ah.
once that is done, then we can start going after those monies. And then it would seem to me that the way I understood it from Dr. Gonzalez, once we have the nonprofit running, then they're the ones that can continue to apply for other
Yes.
fundings. And then that nonprofit can continue because the liability would be too great for them to provide the treatment service, but then they could decide who to contract with to provide the services, whether it's SCAN or whether it's WestCare or Pillar or whoever it is decides to come in on the table. You know, but then that nonprofit then could decide, hey, we got this money,
Yes.
and we put it out for bid. Then they decide because those are going to be our providers.
Yes. But
And-
as a commission, you can propose the model.
Yes.
Like we don't have to reinvent. We have to
No.
best practice, like you said, and then propose that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
That's how it
best
works.
practices.
Okay.
There's
Thanks.
best practices from SAMHSA on how to run programs like this. We just have to follow. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can decide how we want it as far as how
Yes.
how it best fits our community.
That's good. It's very fun.
I need to leave as well. My daughter's getting an award for sport testing.
Very good.
So then, so I guess we could, we're pretty much done.
For 7 years.
Do we have any other announcements? Any other announcements? No? I guess we can adjourn, right?
We need a motion
I'll make a motion.
A motion,
and a second.
a second,
Call
okay.
for the question, all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.